I heard today on the radio that there are members of the Texas legislature that are now pushing for a state income tax in Texas. What are you going to do to make sure that that doesn't happen?
You want me to take that one? No, the reason I'm laughing, I was with Representative Lon Burnham in a public safety meeting on Tuesday. Lon Burnham is the one person a few years ago in the entire House that voted against Speaker Craddock. Lon Burnham prides himself on being a total agitator. I think I paid a word, did you? He is a pain, total pain. He lists himself as I think activist is what he lists. This is his job. I say I'm in the insurance business. Activist. Heard him say, y'all need to help me pass my income tax bill Tuesday. He told me that. We're going to start laughing. Everybody just turned and walked off. But yeah, there's I didn't know he had it, but he said it. And there may be some more people that file it, because they'll use it as a reason not to cut things. This is a perfect opportunity to limit our government right here and limit the size of it because of the budget that we're going to be up against.
Oh, just to follow up quickly, that's a great question. And that's why this race is so important. In 102, as I said earlier, I'm running against a liberal Democrat. She supported legislation to study the relevance of the income tax in place of the property tax. In other words, it was a vote favoring the income tax. When it came time to vote for a study on reducing our spending in the state, which is absolutely required because, as you know, you have only one of two options. You either raise taxes or you cut spending, and I side with cutting spending. But she supported the bill that would have, studied that income tax in place of property taxes, but did not support the bill to reduce spending in the state. And I think that's the wrong approach. And in fact, I'm sure the folks in this room would agree, income tax would be absolutely devastating to our state.
And I'll follow up with that. First of all, I'll tell you my opponent voted for the same thing that Stephanie's opponent voted for, and I would not have voted for that, and I will answer your question very succinctly. I would vote against any move for a state income tax here in Texas.
Well, as a libertarian, I'll give you two guesses what my answer is. Obviously, I am very much opposed to an income tax at all. One of the reasons why Texas is not feeling this recession as much as the rest of the country is no doubt because the government isn't taking our money in the form of an income tax. That it's not punishing us for trying to do better as individuals. The idea of replacing property taxes with income taxes is nonsense. You're replacing, one tax which can put you in jail if you don't pay it with a tax that you will lose your house if you don't pay it. Neither one of those sounds like an ethical tax to me. And so we need to definitely hold the line against an income tax. And we need to roll back taxes everywhere and anywhere we can. We need to follow up all these, we need to follow up spending cuts. We need to make massive spending cuts. And we need to follow those up with the tax cuts. We have to pay for things that, if we have them, but we need to cut both.
Okay, thank you. Looks like we have quite a few questions. I would ask that the candidates keep their comments brief. Answers less than a minute would be great, so I want to get to everybody.
I appreciate the fact that there have been a lot of very specific questions that were addressed to you. I'm going to ask you something that's correct.
Thanks,
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? The question I'm going to ask you is more than likely going to change over time. Mr. Driver, I'm going to exempt you from this question. I think you're going to quite What you heard him speak of, and what we have seen in Washington, is the maneuverings in order to get things done. We have heard you speak to your heart and speak to us of your philosophies. When you are elected, how are you going to hold your center against the pressure?
I'm a libertarian and not a Republican. If I were the kind of person who just wanted to get elected and was going to do whatever it took to get elected and to keep power, do you think I'd be running as a libertarian? I'm running as a libertarian because I really deeply, fundamentally believe in liberty. I really deeply, fundamentally believe that government is not the answer. That more often it is the problem. Unless the government is protecting you from crime, then it is not doing its job. And all too often our government is doing so much that it can't do its job.
Okay, I'm going to have to move on. We're real short on time, so Stephanie, do you have a response?
My response is that, as a minority Republican, I would say if I wanted to run as a Democrat, even though it doesn't match my philosophy, I sure, could. And, I've stood against the test of time by people who look like me and question, well, why is it that you're a Republican? And oh my goodness, And I stand firmly on the ground that I love my party, I love the principles embodied in my party, and I will stand by my party any day. And thank you.
For me, again, brief answer. It's staying true to myself, and I've had those challenges throughout my life. And for me, it's always reflecting back on the values that my parents gave me when they were raising me. And ultimately, it comes down to whenever I'm challenged and I need help, well, I just get down on my knees, and that's what you got to do.
Strength in numbers.
We have one more question in the back, and then we're going to move on.
My question is to all the candidates. As far as government mandates concern education of illegal immigrant children, seeing as how since their parents came here illegally, they have no rights or privileges under U.S. law, why should we be mandated to pay for their education?
That's a good question, and the answer is we shouldn't. Quite simply. Keeping it really short now.
Well, one of the problems is precisely with the way that the 14th Amendment is being interpreted as saying that if you are not a citizen or a resident of this country, that any child born here is a citizen of this country. No other country does that. And more than that, that's a gross misinterpretation of what the intent of that amendment was. And so the first thing that we need to do is we need to try to work to fix that interpretation, to get legislation that clarifies exactly what the 14th Amendment says. And then things will logically follow from that.
I couldn't say it any better than Stephanie did. We should, and I think the solution for the time being is we got to work with the way that the courts have interpreted the laws, and we have to work around those. And ultimately, hopefully, the court will reverse itself in these issues. But securing the borders, because and resolving the illegal immigration issue, because if we resolve those two issues, then less people will be coming in. And obviously, if they're not here, we're not paying for their education.
So what I'm going to do is what they said.